Well, hey there, guys. This is Reverend Sean over at the Center Path, Dr. Sean, and we're going to be going over some of the signs of stress and anxiety when the cortex kind of shuts down. You stop thinking, you start going to reaction mode, which is the like fear and aggression and fight and flight kind of thing. And we're down in that deeper part of the mind, and we start seeing these manifestations in our daily lives. Now, how to use that as an empowerment of your meditations is what we're going to do. So let's talk about the 5 things that we can do to kind of offset the anxiety while in meditation or mindfulness practice, okay? So the number one thing we're going to do is we're going to look at like focus. So when we're stressed out, we tend to get a tunnel vision. If you've ever experienced this before, it's very unique. It's almost as if the outside layers of everything you don't really see, and it's quite blurry. Now, we spend a lot of time focusing on things. If we're on our phone, if we're playing video games, or we're just kind of concentrating on the task at hand, we do have to focus. Now, that's more stressful. That's more of that sympathetic fight or flight reactionary time. More norepinephrine is used. The when our brain waves are working that way, they become very synchronous, right? And that's going to be very focusing. And that can lead to other manifestations of stress, which would be like, cold, sweaty hands, or a dry mouth, or anxiety feelings, anxious feelings, need to run, need to move, other things like that. Can't breathe, really, we're not digesting anymore, stuff like that. So, number one trick is going to be to expand that peripheral vision. And in meditation, we generally say that you should be sitting with the eyes 2/3 closed. Very, very, very almost closed, fluttery, not focused on any one thing. You're actually going to spread out your focus so that you can see the things around you. Now, many times in anxiety training, they'll say like, look for 5 things, or look for 3 things, or see if you can see things around you. And that forces you to not focus on this pinpoint area, but to focus on the world at large. That's an important distinction to have, because when we've become softened in our perception and softened in our focus, we now can see everything around us. Now we're calm because we don't need to focus on the threat or focus on the problem. We can focus just on nothing. Okay, that's a main aspect of meditation, is to keep the eyes, like I said, 1/3 of the way open, kind of focusing about where your head would fall if you fell forward. And that is going to change the way that the brain starts to work. It's going to hopefully change a little bit of that anxiety feeling and drop it down a couple notches. And as you start seeing that, as the softness of that vision that you've experienced outside on the periphery starts to relax the body, then we can start to be a little bit more mindful, and we can start actually begin to think again and bring it back to our upper brain, our cortex, if you will, the frontal lobes, and do some processing in a more effective and a more useful way. So that is just one of the simple ways, just a few minutes to spend time doing that part, peripheral vision, okay, getting rid of that focus. Part two is going to be basically the dry mouth. The dry mouth is a terrible thing, because when you're stressed out, your mouth becomes dry, your hands become sweaty because you need to grip better, right? And it's difficult to express, and it's difficult to get anything else going. The digestion basically stops, because we don't want to have to stop for hunger and stuff like that. If we're being chased by that rhinoceros tiger, right? So as a stress response, our mouths become dry. So how do we offset that? Well, number one, of course, is drinking water, but that's going to be you're just going to keep drinking water, keep drinking water, keep drinking water. Eating foods that are high in moisture, which would be apples, cucumbers, melons, squashes, things like that, will really help increase that internal moisture and internal hydration that we so need. But one of the great ways to do this, to increase the relaxation response, okay, as opposed to that stress response, which dries you out, is to do chanting, singing, humming, something like that. Now, it can be something as simple as just Om, and repeated and repeated and repeated. Om Mani Padme Hum. That's a very good one. That's the 6-syllable mantra. You can also do Namo Amitofo, or you can pick some of the different, more complex chanting that you would read. They're repetitive. They tend to be rhythmic or melodic. And when that happens, we start to continually do that and we're circular breathing, or we're trying to breathe, throughout that speech process. And what happens is we start to drool. You'll notice it sometimes when you meditate and you start to drool, or sometimes when you're doing chanting or singing and you start to drool. It's very, very melodic. It's very calming. And that's the parasympathetics coming back into play. That's important because we're shutting down that sympathetic fight, flight, freeze, faint, flip out kind of mentality, that lower brain activity with the amygdala, where we're having the anxiety and we're having the fear and we have the aggression, the fear aggression and all that kind of stuff happen. And we're starting to draw that back again. So we've got the first one was the peripheral vision. Second one is chanting. These can be done together. They can be done separate. It doesn't really matter. Now, the third one we're going to talk about is actually getting some of the respirations to change. That does happen with chanting. We do change the way our diaphragm works, and we change the way that our breathing, of course, the pattern works. Now, if we increase the breath as an out breath longer than an in breath, that's where we're going to actually have that kind of release. Now, the thing also is, as you're doing these as a stretch, perhaps, which we're going to go over in just a second, we're going to be able to get that relaxing sigh. That's an important thing. Now, you can force it in the beginning just to bring a big breath in, stretch those muscles in the chest and the diaphragm. That activates the phrenic nerve and the vagus nerve. And we get those to feel that tension at the top and then release. Do that 3 or 4 times at the beginning of a meditation, or anytime during the meditation if you're starting to feel that tension. Now, that can actually change the entire physiological aspect of meditation and make you much, much calmer. As you start to find yourself getting more ramped up, we do these kind of breathing exercises, which is just a sigh of relief. Think of it that way. That gets our bodies to ease off that pedal of stress and anxiety and kind of let the normal things flow. Other ways we can do it is to turn the head to the side as far as we can, feeling that stretch through the lateral side of the neck, okay? And then looking to that same side. Let that set for a moment or two. It may take you about a minute, but as soon as you feel like you have to either go or something like that, that's a release. And that's what we want to do. Do both sides equally, leaning to the side. This is part of the polyvagal technique. I'm not really hip on that one because I think we're also affecting the phrenic nerve, which comes from the neck and it affects the diaphragm. Now, as that one relaxes and stretches, we should also get some of that feeling of that relaxing feeling. So those are our 3 things we need to use. Number 4 is a forced yawn. Now, a yawn is more of a social thing. It's more of a tribal or a herd reflex that helps tell everybody not to flip out and we're okay, or things are, whatever, relaxing. So that's why they're kind of contagious, because we're trying to relax the whole group. So what you do is you just put your tongue back, soften the soft palate, and give yourself an R. And you'll find a point where you actually do yawn. And if you're tearing up, that's spectacular. That means we've actually hit that part of the nervous system, and we're replenishing that. You may even feel that drooling come back, that moisture in the mouth. And these are great things to kind of loosen the entire body. Okay. Number 5 on this list is just going to be activity and motion. When we're sitting down for a meditation technique or a meditation time, it's always good to do some stretching in the beginning. And that's going to be either arms across, and I go back and forth this way to feel this here. If you use these muscles to push down also, and then this way and back, just to open up the shoulders is a really good one. You may also get that kind of release feel. You can do turning of the head back and forth, add in the lateral flexion. Okay, that was our polyvagal thing. And then sit and twist, allowing your body to open up this side as we breathe in and let go and let it drop. Do the same thing on the other side. And then let it drop. Do these at least 3 times each, and that should help you ramp down from that stress, that fight or flight, that really anxious body physiology into a more relaxed parasympathetic physiology. Now, the final one here is called the Valsalva maneuver, or bearing down. What bearing down means is when you hold your breath and you push down. Now, but we want to do this a little bit differently. If we push down, like we're going to the bathroom, like you're going to go pee or poop or whatever, you're going to push down. I want you to push back more then down. As you push back, you're pushing on the sacrum, which is the bottom part of the parasympathetics. That's also the bottom part of the vagus nerve. We're stimulating that, and we're tuning in to the pelvis, which the pelvis kind of locks up when you're under stress anyway, and you're not able to go to the bathroom, and it's difficult to pee, and these kind of things. Notice some people can't be watched going to the bathroom, or you can't talk to them when they're going to the bathroom. That's because it steps into their sympathetic and doesn't allow parasympathetic to relax and be activated for that, because that's what you need. Rest and digest, feeding and breathing. Going to the bathroom is all part of that. Now there's a yin and a yang to the parasympathetic sympathetic, and they do work together. Okay, they have to, but we'll get into that another time. So these were just 5 little tricks that you can do to get your body into that parasympathetic round. All right, you guys take care. Do your meditations. Looks like I got a phone call to answer. Talk to you later. Bye.